like poultry. Very interesting. Sorry, this meeting called it a jointly call thing, and we work together on it and proposed it, whatever. We were going to call a meeting anyway, but we just don't want to be going into areas and different groups calling meetings. It's much better everybody just calls one meeting and everyone's working together on organising this campaign. It's got great momentum and long may it continue. Paul Murphy will be along, but I've only got 2 meetings to do tonight. He's got 4. There's one in City West on it, and there's one in Jonestown, and just one earlier on in Knockline, so there's lots and lots of meetings going on. They're generally like this. A lot of people turning up, a lot of interest, a lot of activity going on. I think at all these meetings go back over months, there was a lot of explaining to do as you do at the start of the campaign, getting into the rigmarole of the charge and all the rest of it, but actually it's become a whole lot easier because the government's kind of beginning to cave in on the issue. Actually now a lot of things are becoming exposed and are becoming clear. For instance, the minister was on this day, or Thursday last week in the morning, he was on trying to explain how they've cut the charge, what they say they've cut the charge in half, and still Irish water is viable. The woman doing the interview was saying, so if there was no protest, you would be ripping people off. Is that what you mean? Oh no. What he said, we've got new information. We've got new information in the past 3 weeks, he said, since the charges were originally set. Of course, she wasn't quick enough to say, they've been putting in meters now for a year. They have loads of information. And the information, they knew exactly what they were doing with the charge they brought out only a couple of weeks ago. And what they were doing was, is they set a charge that if only half the people paid it, Irish Water would have been viable. So what would Irish Water have been if 3/4 of the people paid it? A very rich company, and if everybody paid it, it would be worth an absolute fortune. That's what they were at. Right? And what they've been able to do when they've come under pressure from the campaign is, instead of getting half the people to pay all the charge, they've cut it in half, and now they think we're all going to pay half the charge. So I think they're caught themselves, obviously. No such thing is going to happen. The genie is out of the bottle, the game is up in a sense. We know what they're at. And now it's becoming, say, an awful lot easier to explain the situation. I think what happened today, we've been geared enough to have, obviously, get ready. There are no water meters yet anywhere in Tala. That's a nice thing to be able to say. And I was slagging earlier on at the meeting over in Knockair, which is a fairly leafy estate now in Knockline. The houses there are up around 650, 700 grand, and you're surrounded by people that own houses like that. They all stood on the street getting ready to stop the meeting. I said, this is great. We've a buffer zone now for Tala. They have to get through here first to get to Tala. So that's even better. And we had the same crack going on down in Temple Oaks this morning. People got wind of the word, what's called the Works Estate, Wellington, Knockfree, Kennington, Rossmore, and those estates kind of to the left of the Orwell roundabout. They've been working their way off on the other side and not much happened. But the other people on the other side have been organised. They had a street meeting and they were ready. So this morning they arrived. And people, as I said, be there all day long and not a thing, no water meter put in there. So that's fantastic. Now, when you see that happening, when you see Temple O and Knockline getting out and coming out to play on this issue, you really know you're back down, to be honest. The government, what they were at, for instance, with that media barrage from last week over the Jonestown situation, right, was trying to scare them people off from getting involved in the campaign. They knew they wouldn't scare off the real working class areas like the Talas and the Clondalkin were always going to fight on this, there's never any question about it. But they were trying to keep everybody else out. Well, they failed completely. And those people are out to play now as well, and that really is important. I could explain the new charge, but I'll tell you what, I play with numbers all the time, so on the way over work this evening, I have a little calculator made up. For every time they change the charge, I just have to whack in a few numbers and I get all the new numbers out. So I ran it off on the way out from work this evening, right? Now, I've only got 40, and that's not because I thought there'd only be 40 here, but did I just say I got these out of work? So be a bit careful what I walk out there with. So just between every tree, I think it works out as, right? Now, have a look at that, right? That's going to be the charge in 4 years' time. Now, I'm not going to get into it. Have a look at it. And then what you do is during the meeting ask questions about it. Actually, 1 or 2 up here as well. We'll leave it out. Have a look. Sorry. This is the way Irish Water presents information on their website. But theirs is not true and ours is true. And I'll back up my figures right now when I get a chance, right? Just to be very quick, right? Another thing I was working on today, I did a lot of research for the campaign and that. You know the way they're talking about all this money now they're going to have to invest, the billions that they have to invest. And they're talking as if that nobody's been investing anything in the system. Well, I've just looked today, the 3-year programme that they launched in May this year, the Irish Water's 3-year investment programme. And guess what? It's exactly the same size as the investment programme from the 3 years before that from the Department of the Environment, which was the same size as the one from 3 years before that from the Department of the Environment. In other words, the rate of investment in the water system has actually been quite high in this country now, particularly since about 2000. And they're going to carry on investing at that rate. It's around 500 million a year. And by the way, most of it is going into the effluent side, not actually into the water at all. The bigger problem is on the effluent. I'm only saying that to you by way of giving you just another example of the guff and the lies and the nonsense that's coming across. And to be honest, I don't see enough people jumping up this answer, right? Now, they know they're in a bad place in relation to this issue, right? And it's not just, you see, about water anymore, as they said themselves. They realise that now. Now, this isn't just about water anymore. If we beat them on this, which looks highly likely at this stage, right, well then, why wouldn't we go and beat them on some other things, like problems around housing, for instance, particularly in Dublin? There are lots of other reasons we'd like to have a go at them on. And so, this is, in that sense, really serious for the public what's going on at the minute. So much so, again, that media barrage last week. Go back and look at it. If you believe all of what you read last week, I'm sure you don't, read it again. Particularly I say to people, get out the Sunday Independent and read through the Sunday Independent. Every page on the Sunday Independent, every time you turn it, on one or other of the pages, was an article, something to do with having to go with it. And pretty much all of their top journalists, and I actually was starting to run a little bit of competition on Facebook. What did the editors say to all these journalists last Monday morning to get them to write all this stuff? But they've all had to go, right? And you see, the problem is they're really worried. This is a really serious situation. So much so that the Independent today is saying, and we didn't believe it's true, is that they're going to arrest at least 10 of the people from Jonestown to question them. And I have to say, I was expecting to get listened to myself this morning at the other house, right? And we could talk about that if people want it. Well, a lot of people are seeing the stuff in the media and just Facebook and all, right? But you can take it from me, and I'm at this a long time, right? There was nothing particularly untoward on over in Jonestown. The only thing, and I tell you one lesson that came out of Jonestown, I said it to the guard at the end, I said, there's one lesson out of this today. The next time John Burke goes into an area, she'll be escorted by the guard. Because she wanted. She drove straight into the area as if she ignored the muck and there was no problem whatsoever. That actually was the real problem. She drove into the midst of a protest as if there was no problem whatsoever. Like she found out that there is, and every other minister pointed out the same. But there was nothing happening. There's not been any danger or anything like that there. But anyway, I'm not going to necessarily get into it other than if you want that question about it, you can do it. If you are rolling in now on the wrong side of the debate to some extent, beg of the Irish Congress and Trade Union has most definitely come in on the wrong side of the debate. The Labour Party are completely on a sticky wicket. Big national institutions that are meant to represent working people are on the wrong side of this argument and they're getting caught badges as a result of it. Ordinary people are now beginning to see more and more what the name James are always telling us. And of course they're beginning to look back and realise what has been up for the past 20 years. They're up to no good at all these guys anyway, and now it's becoming very clear. I'm going to finish on just one or two quick points. The other thing that they have a problem with, the latest opinion poll shows that the Independents and Sinn Féin combined have 52% of the national vote. Now, in other words, that's serious. Politics, as we used to know in this country, is changing, and it's not just happening here. More or less the same process is going on in Spain and in Greece. Very similar trends in those countries as well. So you see, there's an international reaction to their agenda, particularly in Europe, and it's a real concern for them. So, and as I say, so much so that they're liable to do anything. So we won't be surprised about what they do about Jonestown in order to try and make an example of people or whatever. We'll see what goes on there. Now, defence is very important, as being said. We may win this by having a protest campaign, but it's likely as not as we won't. And we will end up in a situation where the bills will arrive, and so then it will become very important that people do not pay the bills. And if people are using the term not telling people what to do, nobody's telling anybody what to do. But I'm giving the lead here, I'm the councillor, I'm saying to people here, and you know, I don't have to say to people here. You are the ones that led the campaign 20 years ago as well. So have a look at one as well. It will be hard to condemn soon as well. They've got these voting machines, selling them all for $100 and everything else. So, just last thing I want to say is that the meeting is important, like the last meeting was here, is that you ask questions and ask any question you like. It's really important. These are open public meetings. And you feel free, and do not think for 1 second of anything I'm going to say, you pop up and ask any question whatsoever. I'm not going to keep answering them, but we can take notes and maybe answer them in batches or something like that there, so we don't keep talking. But feel free to forward your questions.